What is going on, my friends? We're here at Bygenie right now, just getting some hydration, getting all set up, getting our med spawn set, because we got another hauling video for you today. My main focus today is going to be on this idea that hauling's been nerfed. Mostly fueled by other players or maybe even content creators talking about the loss of our 700k experienced and senior hauling missions that we had. I'm here to show you that it's not the case. So if you think about it, like really think about it, guys. How often were you able to complete those 698 or 711k missions with 100% completion? Because if you're being honest with yourself, like myself and many others, you partial completed that, which meant that you on average took home about 530k for those missions, not 700. And still, that's a decent amount of money. But also think about all the times you weren't able to even complete the missions, or you got Magnus to Terra and you were traveling 120 gigs between your jumps. So in my PTU testing, I focused on something called quantum route planning, which is what we're going to see today. We've got a mission here at Bygenie. We're going to hop in the whole sea that I've got parked out here, fueled up. I just need to run in, set my med spawn, just in case the worst happens, you know. But we're going to run the routes today. We're going to use my method of quantum route planning, or the QRP method, which is really, really simple, guys. And we're going to see how much we're earning an hour. In the PTU, I was making over $1.5 million, over 1.5 mil an hour. Actually averaging out to completing more than you would with the 700k missions, just because of consistency, dynamic loading and offloading with multiple missions, and a consistent performance to the stations. We'll see if that's the case in live, because PTU is a different monster. But just like the other two videos you saw, we're going to kind of go quick and dirty with it. I am going to go ahead and set my timer as we're getting in the ship, because we do have a mission spawned. And I'm just here to give you the transparent look at what it's like to haul in 4.4. And to show you guys that the whole sea is still a massive moneymaker.
Okay, here's your deck assignment.
There we go. We also know that this one is going to Seraphim, so once we get directed toward this box here, I'm going to take that chance to go ahead and plug that into my nav so we can get aligned and take off. These missions are going to sit in your experience category. I'll show you guys that real quick, because if you've already looked at Senior and Master, you'll realize, like you've seen from my other videos, that they hover around the Lagrange points, or they start or end around the Lagrange points, which is kind of shitty, because it'd be nice if we could do more. But you're typically going from like Mick L1, Crew L4, Arc L2, or whatever to the 4 main stations. And the Lagrange points don't have external cargo bays to be able to utilize the whole sea's autoload feature. So this is all going to be in the experience category. You can mix match the 160-ish K missions that are much smaller quantity with about the 240K missions, 230, 240. As an example right here, Seraphim back to Bygenie Point. So we might actually have a really simple loop there.
Alright, you loaded up. Have a good one.
And just like that, loading complete, we're going to head on down to Crusader to do the drop. Now, like in my other videos, I am using an Aorus quantum drive that you can pick up at Arc L1. I am not using my TS2 just to make it more relatable, because why use a quantum drive that not everybody can easily get their hands on? The Aorus is fantastic as a quantum drive outside of the TS2. Acceleration, cooldown, everything. And again, Arc L1 is where you can find it. Platinum Bay in the Galleria. Now, I call this quantum route planning because I keep it real simple, man. I'm doing one at a time, so that way you also don't go over capacity, because it is tempting to try to grab up all of these experience contracts and just try to run loops, not realizing that you might be in an onload offload scenario where you're over capacity, or you've got boxes pointing weird ways, and it starts to cause headaches. So I figured the simplest method is just to do it one at a time. But while you're in quantum and you're not really able to do anything else, you're looking for the next experience rank mission that you're going to go ahead and grab. And again, right here for 247k, we're going to Seraphim now, and we're going to pick up another 2k hydrogen to go back to Bygenie Point. Now, I've noticed in the PTU that these are dynamic. They seem to change as you're going through the motions. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. We have another one, Everest Harbor to Port Tressler. So depending on where these missions are going, you can play with it with your planning in quantum. So we got Seraphim back to Bygenie. Since we're going to be at Seraphim, that's what I want. That way we're going to be dropping off and onloading and saving time. Now, since I know we're only going to be at about half capacity, why not take a peek at what our other options are? Now, we have some smaller 160-ish K missions from Bygenie or Tressler back to Everest, which is good if we need to do return routes later on from those areas. Alright, we are popping in at Seraphim Station at about 6.5 minutes in. We'll see how Seraphim behaves. This has been the only one I've had some trouble with, probably because of the focus around IAE on Orison and just the player load that's been around this area. So we'll see what happens. We're going to go ahead and boost in. We're going to do our turn and burn strategy. Just making sure we don't hit anything.
You are clear to
This is
launch.
cargo services. Let me see what we got. Got a deck assignment for you.
Probably blending in with the outline of Crusader. Oh no, there it is right behind us. Awesome. Little
Hold
wiggle.
tight. We'll start to transfer your cargo.
Alright, so we're also going to see here if we need to do the call or if it's going to automatically load up the hydrogen for the next order. Doing a time check-in. We just crossed the 9-minute mark.
Transfer complete. You're good to go.
Interesting. It started to load up the hydrogen, so I'm just going to call it again. That's all I'm going to do.
Hold tight. We'll start to transfer your cargo.
Bam! So yeah, pro tip guys, for anyone who didn't know, the same button you use to request cargo loading initially to get that box, if your stuff stops loading your next mission or doesn't auto-load it, just hit it one more time. It triggers the onload to begin, which is really cool. So that's a nice quality of life change for me that apparently was a thing in previous patches that I just never knew about. So if you knew, awesome. If not, this is a great way to just kind of keep the good times rolling.
You're good to go.
Beautiful. Alright, so we know with this one, we've got 2,000 SCU that we're taking back to Bygenie. So now we're back in quantum route planning. Let's take a look at what we can get into here. One thing I did notice in the PTU is that sometimes when I see a mission, like Bygenie to Seraphim again, for example, slightly different quantity, if you grab it, if there was a similar mission that was, you know, Bygenie to maybe somewhere else, it might go away. So there is some like dynamic shifting that happens in this contract filter or contract list, because there's no filter. Man, I wish there was a filter. Grab the one that you want the most. Most of them are going to be around this 248, 245, 240K, which is not bad. So this one's going back to Seraphim. Let's see what else we're working with here. I avoid the double pickup ones still, because they do still seem to be plagued with issues. Really wish all these senior rank missions didn't start at Lagrange points. This is the only one, really, that will go to the 3 main stations here from Everest. So you actually can sort of stack this in. Now, this is also going to Seraphim, so this might mix it up for us a little bit. We can actually throw this on. Since it's dropping off to the 3 points, typically it works well. There is a pair to this where you pick up from the 3 stations and take it back to Everest, and that was a problem. But why not? Let's go ahead and grab the senior rank that goes to main stations anyway. Ah, look at that. Bygenie to Tressler. And I think there was a Tressler to Everest, so why don't we take this one? Alright, that's our next sort of quantum route planned loadout there.
Thank
Cargo
you.
services.
Please visit
See
again.
what we got. Okay, here's your deck assignment. I'm tracking you. Go ahead and get into position to get your cargo transferred.
Little wiggle to
Hold
stop.
tight. We'll start to transfer your cargo.
Offload begins. I've been doing this enough that I know that typically Tressler's got routes back to Everest in the 160 or so mark. And that'll take us right into our senior mission. That's going to go to the other stations and kind of free us up because there was an Everest to Seraphim 2 much higher. So you start to develop a web of delivery routes with this that my buddy Kai likes to equate me to that crazy moment on the wall trying to connect everything together. It sort of is like that, but it's really cool because it gives you this dynamic hauling experience where you get to make a lot of money going to a lot of different places. And it just feels a bit more fulfilling to me, especially.
Transfer complete.
And so it started
Good to
sort of
go.
loading again. Let's go ahead and call it.
Cool. Start cargo transfer now.
And there is the food, I believe, coming in for Port Tressler. So it's weird. It's sort of like getting into the onload because it put the small boxes on and then it stops. Just don't panic with that because you call it again and you continue, which is great. And sometimes you still have to do the seat check if it doesn't detect that you haven't stayed still, where you just hop out of your pilot seat so that your avatar can like resync to the server shard and all.
Alright, you loaded up.
I haven't had as much issue with that since it went live, but I've also been in lower population servers. So our 2K one didn't actually submit itself, but it's fine. It's 100%. We'll go ahead and hit that. We got that full 247,750 payout, which is awesome. Taking a peek at our contracts, we are now heading to Port Tressler with the 1000 processed food. From there is where I want to think about going back to Everest Harbor so we can collect all the goodies for the senior rank mission. All right, here we go. Tressler back to Everest, so I'm going to take that one. We do have some that'll probably be good to pair with the senior contract. I can see Everest to Port Tressler, Seraphim to Port Tressler. I think I'm actually good with what we have selected because you don't want to get too deep into your route planning and end up sort of double backing or overlapping routes and overcomplicating things. Now, if you want to take that chance, by all means, go ahead and do that. Have some fun with it, see what you can do. But the method I've been running with myself, it really focuses on simplicity and adaptability, and it's been working really well. Now, in my opinion, one of the added benefits to this is something I've talked about in my live streams and in other hauling videos, is that I've never liked going somewhere with an empty trailer, so to speak. You know, I want to maximize all of my travel with having cargo. This allows for that. This gives you cargo between every station. You're constantly delivering and picking up and making money rather than going anywhere empty like we did before. You know, we'd make hopefully 700K, but more likely about 530 or so K, and then you're going back empty to whatever station that was that had the mission to deliver that. Versus here, we are constantly moving. Another thing that's good with constantly moving and dynamically going to different places is it kind of makes you harder to pin down by pirates. It still might be beneficial to dogleg your travels as much as you can just to make yourself more unpredictable on busier servers or busier shards where there might be more pirate activity. But this will make you less of a predictable target because you're not just going between the main 700K travel points that pretty much everybody knew about. All right, here we go. This mission is dropping. We'll probably have to call for these smaller missions. It's going to be tiny. It's only 400 or so SKU. Oh, there we go.
Landing complete.
Cargo
Have a
is
pleasant stay.
transferred, safe, flying.
Now, it should be pretty self-explanatory, but if anybody's just annoyed by how repetitive ATC can get sometimes, you can just go in here to speech volume and actually turn that off or lower it if it bothers you. There were a couple of cases in the PTU where it would go into an infinite loop and was going to drive me insane, so I definitely did turn it off. But it's been pretty good for the most part. I have noticed I don't have to double tap my call for cargo as often as I did in the past, which is nice. And also, I guess these are having a hard time submitting themselves. So there we go. Completed mission, submitted. We are already, that's like 600K we've already made. No more, 700, 800K already made. And we are 27 minutes in. And now we're actually on our way with this 165K to Everest from Port Tressler, kind of connecting the branches, right? We're keeping us moving to grab this 289 from Everest that is going to take us to Tressler, Seraphim, by Genie. So now we don't have a whole lot of time to do this because these quantum travel points are pretty tight. We need to figure out how we're going to take advantage of that. All right. So we're getting a little extra ballsy here because we've got the capacity for it. This will put us up to 3,300 SCU. But we're adding another mission because we're going to hit by Genie in the senior drop-off before we go to Seraphim, so we'll pick up another mission for them. So this is where it could get a little fun, but a little risky. You just want to make sure you don't go over capacity. We're not going over 4,600. We're still well under it. But you can kind of play around with your routes. Now, I sort of planned to grab that extra route while we were cruising toward the station, so no real time for turn and burn. But we're traveling so light since we only have the 409 of pressurized ice that I wasn't really worried about it. And the route I kind of have in my head, because I think I saw a mission from Seraphim to Tressler as well, is we're going to do the Everest to Baijini route first. And then Baijini
Right.
to Seraphim.
Got you into the loading area, get into place, and we'll start loading your cargo.
We are hopefully dropping cargo before we're picking it up, which... Ooh, it doesn't look like we are. Are we now? It's like exchanging. Oh boy. Let me double check something here. This is where it can get a little weird if the station logic gets a little out of whack. This is another reason you really want to make sure you don't go over capacity. Yep. It's only delivered 9 of the 409. We have room. We have room. So what I might do is come back around, because there was one time in the PTU where this happened, but when I came back around, the autoload feature worked instead of manually offloading. But we do have manual offload as a backup plan, guys. That is what's so great.
Been transferred, safe, flying.
That is what's so great about having the external cargo elevators. Now I'm going to do one more thing. I'm just going to go ahead and call this just to make sure we have everything. Actually, calling it again triggered the offload. So the pressurized is going. I hope that actually counts.
Alright, you loaded up. Have
Let's
it work.
go. Okay. Alright, that's it. on to Baijini now. I find this to be so much more fun than the boring A to B 700k missions. Like, yeah, sure, it was decent money, but this is really good money and you get to do a lot more. Now, you can make these processes even faster by kind of pre-aligning to your next jump point, so I'm not even min-maxing this. So there is time to be shaved off. I like to use all of my quantum travel periods to double check what's going on so I don't make any mistakes. I won't show you all of that, but that is what I do. I go back to my contracts, I double check what I'm looking at and where I'm going to make sure that I don't goof, right? That I goof as little as possible. I've still been kind of forced to habit now going to the far end of the station because in recent patches you seem to have more stability with the cargo grids toward the far end. I don't know how true that is in 4.4, but that's just, if you're wondering, that's why I go so far back.
I'm tracking you. Go ahead and get into position to get your cargo transferred.
Now this is the technique, guys. If you can, depending on alignments of everything, we are already set to quantum out of here as soon as we confirm that we have everything we need. Does it look like we lost some hydrogen? Ooh, uh-oh. We got some weird stuff happening.
Transfer complete. You're good to go.
Alright. Oh, that's right. It was a partial drop-off of the hydrogen from Aorus. No, looks like we're still good. Looks like we're still good. So we could have grabbed this 162 to add a bit more because we're well under capacity since we're going to be coming back to Aorus since we went from Baijini. So there's a potential 162k that we might have missed in here that I didn't catch. You know, there's lots of opportunity to be had with this method. So we will take this one. We won't miss out on that. Seraphim back to Aorus. So we've got Tressler back to Aorus and Seraphim back to Aorus since we have to hit those two. Now, I cut my travel earlier on Crusader. That way I could just go polar instead of jumping around this giant gas giant like 2 to 3 times. There we go. Now, you can learn some tricks. Polar jumping is pretty smart. That's nodes 1 or 2. Crusader is just massive, so it can help you cut out some of the quantum route travel around planets. So we are about 44 minutes in. We'll probably finish up with hitting Seraphim, Tressler, and back to Aorus, and then calculate all the earnings we made and the time it took for our final tally. Don't want to make these videos too long. If you like this sort of stuff, guys, I do this on live streams all the time. I typically am streaming Star Citizen Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do Whole Sea, all kinds of stuff. This is my main focus. The industrial side, the hauling side with this big, beautiful ship. Okay, Seraphim is acting weird. I do see what appears to be a deck assignment down below. Again, Seraphim Station's like the only station I've had any turbulence with so far, but I think that's mostly because of IAE.
Alright, I've got you into the loading area. Get into place and we'll start loading your cargo.
I love when it lines up this way, man. Took us a couple of minutes longer on Seraphim just because it was acting weird and it didn't even tell us we had a deck assignment. I just saw it like down and away. But it is what it is. We picked up the waste that's going to Aorus Harbor. Now we're on our way to Tressler.
Please proceed to assigned landing
Cargo
bay.
services. Let me see what we got.
We should be grabbing something from here to take to Aorus as well as that waste we had. And the rest of the hydrogen in that tin should fall off.
Thank you.
Transfer complete.
Please visit again.
You're good to go.
Alright, we're heading on to Aorus. I do think we had one mission goof on us because that tin did not leave. It was the senior rank mission picking up from Aorus and dropping off to the 3. I'm not sure which of the 3 failed. So it's only showing that we actually dropped tin off to Seraphim. It's not showing the other 2. So this mission, I'm going to probably just drop it and call it a flop. It did not behave the way it needed to, and I'm not submitting it because that would be well under the 75% total delivery and hit our rep in a negative way. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there. It's traditionally worked pretty well, but not today. Gotta say though, the experience level missions are killing it. And we are right about 56 minutes, so it'll be roughly an hour. And we can pretend in our minds that we had an extra 162k, so we can do with or without that when we go over this. Timing on this is kind of impeccable, man. We are crossing 59 minutes right now. Be a little bit over an hour. A little bit, but good for the calculations.
Transfer complete. You're good to go.
All right. Not even a minute over. That is 1 hour and 45 seconds. We can honestly, we can just round to an hour
Thanks
here.
for contacting cargo services. Checking for an open.
So as we wrap up our thoughts, let's take a peek at our contracts here. The only thing that did not complete was this one. So we'll imagine another scenario where this and we got that 162k that we missed, which was by Genie to Everest. This is the one we missed. So about 162K that could have contributed to this on top of the contract that failed. So when we started this, we were at 204.8. So there's going to be some plus or minus here. So we're going to say 6.5 minus 4.8 gives us about 1.7, which is roughly about what I had made in the PTU when I did this last time. We actually made about 1.7 million in an hour, which is fantastic already. Not min-maxed, not grabbing everything we could have, and having the bad luck of missing out on about 300K. Let's add in the 2 that we could have had with that. We would have been just under 2.2 million an hour, or about 2 million an hour if all of that had gone 100%. And I mean, granted, it went really, really, really well. We just had this weird thing with the senior rank mission that I'm about to go and see if I can fix and actually deliver it and get it to check off the list using maybe the external elevators. If anything cool happens with that, maybe I'll include that as a bonus part to this video, guys. But I think this should do a really good job of showing y'all that hauling didn't get nerfed. Maybe if you're like super hyper lazy and you just wanted the boring A to B 700K that was really 530K most of the time, if it worked at all, okay, I get it. There's always going to be people that complain. But for those of you who just didn't know, or didn't know how to utilize this in a way to make the same money we were already making, if not more consistently, here you go. Quantum route planning brought to you by Captain Deadwake. It's super simple, it's super easy, and you can play with it and do the things that you want to do to sort of maximize on your time. You can run a TS2 quantum drive, you can make sure you're fully aligned to quantum jump out of any of your deliveries. You can maybe increase your turn and burn. Make sure you don't miss missions that can add to your stack. Just making sure you don't go over capacity. There are ways to ink more out of this. And again, this is majority just the experienced rank missions that are ranging anywhere from 240-ish thousand to 136 or 162K. But you're just incorporating them so you're always going somewhere with something on your ship and you're maximizing your time traveling. Most of your time is really spent actually just doing the quantum travel itself. So this is a lot of fun. And one of the ways that I've taken to describing it is a more dynamic feeling to hauling. You're doing more. It's not as boring. You're making stupid money. It's not been nerfed. That's just people being dramatic. Or, in a lot of cases, just not knowing because you kind of go with what you heard. Yeah, the interstellar missions are not there for us at that same capacity anymore. But that is because Red Wind Linehaul and the Ling family are taking over the interstellar stuff. Right now, the master hauling missions from Kovalex for Interstellar don't pay dirt worth doing for the time it takes, unless you just want to experience that travel. And this 520K mission here, you're going from Everest Harbor to the actual land locations in Pyro, in some dangerous places if you're not careful. And with these, you're using your Caterpillar or your C2, because the quantities aren't really too crazy. A lot of great time for the Cat and C2 fans to enjoy doing some hauling, more for fun than min-maxing your earnings. Because unless you're using the whole C the way I'm showing you, you're not going to get as much money as you could. But for some of us, it's not all about the money. Some of us just want to have fun hauling and throwing boxes. I've seen that in the comments, and I agree with it. So enjoy your missions from the Lagrange points, going to the main stations, enjoy the external elevators, and if you were worried about making all of your fast cash with the whole C, hopefully today I've shown you that there's nothing to worry about. Hit me with all the questions and comments down below, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into another video. I really appreciate it, and I will catch you guys in the next one.
Cargo services. Let me see what we got. Okay, here's your deck assignment. Alright, I've got you into the loading area. Get into place and we'll start loading your cargo.
1 of 103. Interesting. Let's try the external freight elevators. Okay, test cargo placed. We're going to see what the readout says. Oh, 1 out of 6 16s. Okay, okay. All right, here we go. Oh, it recovered. I thought we were screwed there. Okay, we're good. Okay. 1 out of 6. So, just 5 more. Look at that. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. And then I guess the rest has to go back to Port Tressler. We'll just have to do it manually. Objective complete. 103 of 103 to by Genie Point. So, I decided to make a quick detour. There's a pickup from Everest to Tressler. I had to.
Welcome to the loading area. If you get into position, we can get started. Start
I
cargo
don't
transfer
expect the tin that we're having trouble with to offload here. So we'll probably hit the external freight elevator right next to us, or up there since that one's already open, and drop that. But there's another like 250k just because we decided we're going to go ahead and run some hydrogen over to Tressler as well. And then we'll make about another 300k when we finish this tin mission, if it's all of it.
now. Alright, you're loaded up.
Cargo's
Have
being
a good
transferred.
one.
A little far from it, so I'm just going to kind of toss them in that general direction for now. It is just objectively true, though, that using your tractor rifle is so much faster than using any of the ship's tractor beams, unfortunately. Ship's tractor beams need a real rework on things like the Cat and the Hull C. The Raft and the Taurus, fantastic, and for what I see from the Ox, fantastic. But these tractor beams are slow. They can barely move or rotate a box. It's just not as good. I don't really care about how this looks. I'm not going for pretty here, just going for completion. Wow, no way. I didn't do the math in my head because I just figured we're going to see it eventually anyway, but I think that's a completed mission, guys. It was all green with no missing boxes. We got 219.5 for that? What? We didn't get full credit because of maybe the time it took? So I'm not really sure what happened there. It might have just been a timing thing. I don't know if the contract actually had a time limit. But yeah, we completed 10 contracts in that time. This one is the only one that seems to have given us a partial, which I'm guessing was time related. I'm really not sure. But yeah, we've made 2.2 million in this session so far, and would have been a lot faster if we didn't need to manually do that. But what's really cool is that demonstrated that if you do have an issue with a contract, you can use the external freight elevators as a backup to turn those in and get credit for it and get your rep versus having to abandon it or deal with losing that cargo like we have in the past. So cool. I hope you guys enjoyed that little bit of bonus footage of us figuring out if we could complete the senior contract, which we did, and I will catch you guys next time.